Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 19th January 2024. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TSV, Nectar, NECTAR, nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been trying to analyze the topics and the knowledge plus information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been trying to do in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. Yesterday, when I was contemplating and meditating and trying to look within my own brain and psyche, I observed a very strange phenomenon that is happening in the society and has been so for times immemorial, but we are either not observant of it or we have plainly ignored it. I found that we all know that 75% of all human living entities are of the vegetative type. 20% are those who advertently or inadvertently, by default or by design, knowingly or unknowingly, deliberately or otherwise, get attracted towards and gravitate towards the dark negative forces of this material world. On the other hand, there are a minuscule percentage of all human living entities, whether male or female, who are attracted towards and gravitate towards the positive material and spiritual forces. This we all know already. But during my contemplation, I observed that of the multitude who belong to the vegetative kind, those who are especially attracted to the 5% positive force and are likely to join that bracket are extremely scared of joining that minuscule bracket, and out of a fear of innate insecurity or otherwise prefer to remain in the 75 category of multitude. Probably this is because of their extreme phobia to take the quantum leap towards the unknown or into the unknown, thus sooner or later reaching that 5% bracket. On the other hand, those who are attracted to the dark negative forces sincerely believe that they are superior, more matured, more experienced, and more precautious than the 75% multitude of vegetative human living entities, whether male or female, or the 5% positive category people. These material or these 20% dark negative forces people actually believe that those who belong to the 5% category are childish and extremely immature and do not deserve any mention in their own lives. However, they plainly think that those who are from the 75% category are fools, and these people are extremely reluctant to be a part of that multitude. It is quite possible that those who gravitate toward the 20% category may be having a purpose in life, but this purpose is just self-serving, and these people happen to gravitate towards these dark negative forces just because they are more selfish, more greedy, and more ruthless and unscrupulous than the other 75% of the multitude of vegetative types or the 5% positive types. This is one particular observation I made during my contemplation yesterday. Similarly, I also came to understand or observe a particular theory which struck my mind while thinking about humanity in general. I said that we have broadly three categories, that is 75% multitude of vegetative kind, 20% of the dark negative kind, and 5% material and spiritual kind. However, during thinking about this, I also observed that there is one fourth category. This fourth category belongs to those who belong to the twilight zone. That is, theoretically, these guys are as selfish and greedy as those who belong to the genuine underworld, but are too scared to build the courage to jump into nothingness and go and become a part of that bracket. These are people who want to have the cake and eat it too. They want to sail in two boats at the same time. It is another matter that on an average, either these guys regret at the correct time to regret their own decision to belong to the negative forces and return to the multitude of vegetative kind, or are usually victimized by those who belong to the genuine dark negative forces. These are people who one may call as being in the fringe of the dark negative forces and the 75% multitude of ordinary living entities. These are people who take pride in trying to show off as special, whereas usually they are disowned by the 75% and disbarred by the 20%. They are forsaken by the 75% and forgotten by the 20%. However, such entities who belong to the fringe between the 75% and the 20% are minuscule in number, and they want to have it good both ways, but usually they fail. How does this happen? This happens because their own individual minds operate in such a fashion that sooner or later they get confused, irritated, scared, phobiatic, and are always looking out behind their shoulders or over their shoulders lest they may be victimized either by the dark negative forces or by the lawmakers sooner or later. In fact, when it comes to underworld, it is these people who become successful police informers, not because they wanted to be, but because of their innate fear of going to prison or for being prosecuted for some imaginary crime that they had not committed at all, but were scared that would be pinned on them. The lawmakers use their own opportunity to make the best of this phobia of such guys from the Twilight Zone. We shall discuss the minds of these guys who belong to the Twilight Zone more in this video to find out how their individual minds work. First, I would like to mention a particular book called Papillon, which was written by a 19th century underworld figure from France called Henri Charrier. It was the biography or autobiography of the same guy who happened to be a genuine underworld person. Or probably he was a genuine underworld person, or so we thought. But it seems that he was so deep into it that we will understand his true nature only later. According to him, there was one guy called Roland Legrand who was in the Parisian underworld during the early 20th century, that is, during the 10th and 20s of the 20th century. This guy genuinely belonged to the fringe of the underworld or in the twilight zone. Actually, he had a girlfriend who used to resort to prostitution to earn an extra buck for both of them. Actually, this girl was more of a wife than a lover for this Roland Legrand. Now we shall look at the mind of this man called Roland Legrand. This guy was so selfish and unscrupulous that he actually acted as a pimp soliciting customers for his own wife and girlfriend. He was by profession or by legitimate profession a pork butcher, but yet he took pride in remaining in the fringe of the Parisian underworld. Police came to know about him very fast. It knew how to lean on such figures. It scared this man so much that he began informing about whatever information he came to know about the genuine underworld in Paris of that period. One day, one particular person genuinely from the underworld, called Papillon Roger, got wind of this particular person's personal secret of being a police informer. This genuinely crime oriented person called Papillon Roger one night accosted this Roland Legrand and shot him one bullet on his stomach to warn him against being an informer. Roland Legrand lived to tell this to the police, specifically fingering at Roland Legrand for being the person who shot him in his stomach. This shows the mind of Roland Legrand. He was an unscrupulous person who shied away from the 75% category but who was kicked out from the 20% category of the Parisian underworld society. The police, according to Henri Charrier, arrested him because his name or nickname in the underworld was also Papillon. They conveniently removed the name Roger from his nickname and convicted him of this shooting in which Roland Legrand died ultimately. Now Papillon, who was called Papillon Roger by the same police, went as an inmate of the legal system of Paris to the penal settlements of France during that period in the French Guiana and other islands. There he remained for 13 years as a prisoner before escaping permanently to Venezuela, where after an earthquake, when his own business was reduced to ashes, he wrote this book called Papillon, blaming the French police for pinning the murder on him. This book became such a rage that ultimately it was used to make a movie by the same name, and it became a rage in Europe and in other countries. So much so that thanks to the uproar caused by this book in the society, the French penal settlements in the French Guiana were completely closed down. However, here comes the ringer. According to Henry Charrier, whoever shot Roland Legrand was probably a genuine police informer. In other words, he was from the twilight zone between the 75% category and the 20% category of the society. This showed him as an unscrupulous gangster or individual who neither had the goodness of the vegetative kind nor the daring and devilry or deadliness of a genuine underworld character. This Henry Sherrier, alias Original Papillon, who had become notorious as Papillon Roger, died in the year 1974 at the age of 67 out of cancer. Everything was forgotten for some time, till one day one press reporter was informed by a friend that there was one 95-year-old inmate of Old Men's Home in Paris who was telling all the stories published in Papillon, saying that they were actually his own personal experiences. The man who listened to them was intrigued because this 95-year-old guy was almost semi-literate and he did not look in any angle as someone who had read this book called Papillon. Intrigued by all this, that guy had informed this press reporter of the existence of this man who called himself Papillon. Now this press reporter got very curious. He went, took an appointment and talked to this person who claimed to be the original Papillon. When he talked to him, he found that this old man had no use in lying about his true identity. This guy said that he was from the army of the French defense forces who had probably participated in the First World War, came back, murdered one gamekeeper, and had now been convicted of this murder and was sentenced to life imprisonment in the same penal settlement which Henri Charrier claimed to have been his own during his own imprisonment. Here we will take a detour. We will try to analyze the minds of two very unknown individuals or those who were strangers to each other. One was a genuine murderer called Papillon, who had gone to the penal settlement and remained there after accepting that he had committed a murder. This guy could have been from the fringe of the underworld, but yet the fact remained that he had indeed committed a murder to which he himself acknowledged. On the other hand, there was this Henry Sherrier, who said that he had been wrongfully convicted for the murder of Roland Legrand and was imprisoned to the penal settlement during the same period when the original Papillon lived in that French settlement in French Guiana. We shall continue our talk on this particular matter in my next video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular subject and case history. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, ideas, and opinions so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on fiction, spiritualism, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.